I unlock the east service door at 6:14 in the morning, with a paper cup of gas station coffee in one hand and a ring of keys in the other. The parking lot is still mostly empty. The buses are not lined up yet. The cafeteria lights are off except for the one strip above the serving counter, and the building has that early morning school smell of floor wax, old paper, cafeteria disinfectant, and wet coats left in cubbies from yesterday. I stand inside the service hallway for a second and listen. The boilers hum below the floor. A pipe taps twice somewhere behind the wall. The intercom gives a soft pop, then goes quiet again. My name is Daniel Mercer. I have worked at Briar Glen Elementary for 11 years. I am the head custodian, which means I fix toilets, unlock classrooms, shovel sidewalks, break up ice by the bus lane, move desks for people who forget to ask until the last minute, and know which teachers will thank me and which teachers will leave chairs stacked wrong on purpose. I know this building better than the principal does. I know the dead outlets, the hallway camera with the bad angle, the ceiling tile above the library that leaks during hard rain, and the old storage rooms nobody wants to clean because every cardboard box in there has been sitting since before most of the staff was born. That morning starts normal enough to fool me. I roll the trash cart past the gym, check the side doors, and find 2 wrappers outside the 5th grade entrance where older kids hang around before the bell. The sky is gray. Light rain taps on the glass doors. Across the street, the crossing guard sits in her car with the heater running, one hand on the wheel, her yellow vest folded on the seat beside her. She is usually out early. She waves at me every morning. Today, she does not look up. At 6:41, the kitchen crew arrives late. Maribel comes in first, carrying a case of milk with both hands and arguing into her phone in Spanish. She sees me and points at the cafeteria television, which is mounted high in the corner but almost never used. "Danny, can you turn that on? My sister keeps sending me clips, something at County General." I get the remote from the office drawer and click the television on. The local news comes up with the sound too low. At first, it is a traffic report. Then it cuts to helicopter footage over County General Hospital, 10 miles away. Police cars block the ambulance bay. A line of people stands outside the emergency entrance. Not in an orderly line, not waiting with paperwork or bags, just pressed near the doors while 2 officers try to move them back. The caption says, "Unconfirmed incident." The anchor uses calm words and repeats that viewers should avoid the hospital area until authorities provide updates. Maribel stands under the television with the case of milk still in her hands. "My sister works laundry there," she says. "She says people are biting." I do not answer right away. That is the kind of sentence no one wants to accept at 6:43 in a school cafeteria, while cereal cups wait in plastic bins and the dishwasher has not even warmed up yet. I tell her to set the milk down before she drops it. Then I check my phone. No signal, no internet, no bars. I move closer to the windows. We were lifted higher and get 1 bar for half a second before it disappears. By 7:10, the building is waking up around me. Teachers come in with tote bags and coffee. The office copier jams twice. The nurse calls out sick through a text sent before dawn. Mr. Yates, the principal, arrives in his blue raincoat, already annoyed because the district has sent no guidance, and half the parents in the voicemail box sound angry. He asks me if the front camera is working. I tell him it is. He asks about the back camera. I tell him that one is still washed out from the bad connection in the wall. He looks toward the main entrance and says, "Keep an eye on anyone who is not supposed to be here." That is the first thing that feels wrong from the inside of the school. Not the news, not Maribel's sister, not the phone signal. It is Mr. Yates sang that sentence in the same tone he uses for snow delays and broken sprinklers. The first buses come in late. One bus pulls up with only 9 kids on it, and the driver does not open the door right away. I am near the front hall with a mop bucket when Mrs. Harlan, the secretary, buzzes the main entrance and waves at the bus driver through the glass. The driver finally opens the folding door, and the kids climb down quiet. No jokes, no pushing. No one runs to beat the bell. The driver shuts the door before Mrs. Harlan can ask him anything and pulls away from the curb too fast, splashing rainwater over the edge of the sidewalk. At 7:39, the second bus arrives with no children inside. The driver sits in the seat staring forward. Mr. Yates goes outside with an umbrella. I follow behind him because something about the bus sitting empty makes the whole front of the school feel exposed. The driver opens the door only halfway. He tells Mr. Yates that the middle school is closed, the high school is closed, and dispatch is not answering. He says one route got stopped near the overpass by police who told him to turn around. He says parents are following buses in cars. He says he is not going back out after this. Mr. Yates keeps his voice low. Did the district close us? No one told me anything, the driver says. I'm telling you what I saw. He closes the door in Mr. Yates's face and drives off with the emergency flashers still on. Inside, children are hanging backpacks, teachers are taking attendance, and the morning announcements play from the office. The student council quote of the week crackles through the speakers. 2 kids in the front hallway argue over a lost glove. A first grader cries because his mother dropped him off without his lunchbox. Normal sounds keep happening, but the building is no longer normal. Every adult knows it and keeps moving anyway, because schools are built on routine. Once the bell rings, routine takes over, even when the world outside starts coming apart. At 8:03, the first parent pounds on the front doors. His name is Mr. Calder. His daughter is in 2nd grade. He does not wait for the office buzzer. He hits the glass with the side of his fist until Mrs. Harlan flinches at her desk. I can see him through the camera monitor. His hair is wet. His jacket is unzipped. He holds his phone toward the glass and shouts that he has been calling for 10 minutes. Mrs. Harlan buzzes him in, and he comes through the vestibule talking over everyone. I want Ava now. Right now. They are shutting roads down. Mr. Yates steps out of his office and tells him to lower his voice. Mr. Calder does not lower anything. 2 more parents pull into the bus lane behind his car. One leaves the driver's door open and runs toward the entrance. A child in Mrs. Fenwick's class sees his mother through the window and starts shouting from the hallway. The school's normal pickup rules fall apart in less than 6 minutes. I am sent to lock the side doors and check the playground gates. Rain has turned the blacktop dark. The swings move in the wind with no children outside. At the far end of the teacher lot, a white sedan jumps the curb and parks with one wheel in the grass. A woman gets out carrying a toddler and a diaper bag, and I recognize her from kindergarten orientation. She is not supposed to use that door. She sees me and starts coming fast, holding the toddler against her hip. Please, she says through the glass when I reach the door. My son is in Mrs. Webb's class. Open it. I point toward the main entrance. Office has to sign him out. She turns her head toward the front, sees the growing line of cars, and shakes her head. No, I can't stand out there. People are acting insane near the road. Behind her, another car enters the teacher lot, then another. A man gets out holding a tire iron, not raised, not threatening yet, just in his hand because he decided he needed something. The woman sees him too. She presses the toddler tighter against her and says my name, because parents know the custodian when something breaks. I unlock the door and let her inside. That is my first mistake. Or maybe it is the first decent thing I do. I still do not know. Once the door opens, the man with the tire iron starts toward it. I get the woman and toddler through, shut the door, and turn the lock before he reaches the step. He yells through the glass that his child is inside. I tell him to go to the office. He tells me he is not waiting in a line while the city falls apart. His voice carries down the hallway, and 2 teachers open classroom doors to look. By 8:22, Mr. Yates orders a soft lockdown. Classroom doors locked. No outside recess. No hallway movement unless escorted. He uses the intercom and keeps his voice steady, but the words are wrong for what is happening. A soft lockdown means someone suspicious nearby, maybe a police situation close to campus. It does not mean parents banging on doors, buses vanishing, phone networks failing, and staff whispering beside copy machines about people attacking nurses at the hospital. I am in the maintenance room behind the gym when the district finally sends an email. It comes through on the school office computer, not on phones. Mrs. Harlan prints it and brings it to Mr. Yates. I see the page in his hand when he walks past me. It says schools should shelter in place until further notice. It says staff should not release students except through verified guardian pickup. It says law enforcement will advise on evacuation if necessary. There is no law enforcement at Briar Glen. There is only a principal, a secretary, 23 staff members, 1 school counselor, 2 cafeteria workers, 1 music teacher who is already crying in the staff bathroom, and me with a radio clipped to my belt. At 8:37, the first emergency alert comes over the phones that still work. Mine does not make a sound. Other phones do. The classrooms erupt with that sharp alert tone, not all at once, but in patches down the hall. I am carrying a box of door wedges when the sound goes through the building. Children start talking. Teachers tell children to put phones away. Someone in the 3rd grade wing says, "Do not read it out loud." Mrs. Harlan reads it out loud in the office by accident because she is trying to understand it herself. Local authorities advise residents to remain indoors, avoid medical centers, large gathering areas, and individuals showing signs of violent confusion. Do not approach injured persons without protection. Await official instruction. Violent confusion, that is the phrase they use. It sounds invented by someone who does not want to write the truth yet. Mr. Yates calls me to the office. He has the building binder open. It is the red emergency binder with tabs for fire, tornado, active threat, severe weather, reunification, gas leak, bomb threat, and medical emergency. He flips pages too fast, then stops and presses both hands flat on the desk. "Daniel, I need you to check the lower level." "The boiler room?" "And the old storage hall. If we need to move kids away from exterior doors, I want to know what space we have." "We have the gym interior wall, cafeteria, music room, library." He looks toward the front windows where parents are still gathering in the rain. "Lower level first." Briar Glen is old in pieces. The front office and kindergarten wing came from a renovation in the 90s. The gym was added later, but the center section, the part with brick walls, narrow stairwells, and heavy classroom doors, was built in 1962. Under that section is a half-basement most staff never visits. It holds boilers, electrical panels, old folding chairs, holiday decorations, paint, broken desks, and a locked storage corridor with concrete walls that sweat in summer. I take the west stairwell down. The light switch at the bottom buzzes before the bulbs flicker on. The lower hall smells damp. A dehumidifier runs near the mop sink, rattling because one wheel is missing. I check the boiler room first. Both boilers are running. Gas line intact. No water on the floor. I check the electrical room. Main panels normal. Emergency lights charged. Then I go to the old storage corridor, where a metal cage door has been locked for years, because the district never wants to pay anyone to sort whatever is behind it. I have the key. Of course I have the key. No one remembers giving it to me, but I have it. The lock sticks. I put my shoulder against the cage door and push until old paint cracks along the hinge. The corridor beyond is narrow, with boxes stacked along one side and a row of rusted lockers on the other. The air is cooler here. The floor slopes a little, which I have noticed before but never cared about. I walk past boxes labeled overhead projector bulbs, unused spelling workbooks, cafeteria trays, and one wooden crate marked Civil Defense Supplies in faded yellow letters. I stop at that crate. I have seen civil defense signs in old schools. Yellow triangle, black circle, 3 shapes inside. Usually one is bolted in a hallway and forgotten. Briar Glen has one in the boiler stairwell, mostly covered by a bulletin board. Kids pass it every day without knowing what it means. I always thought it was decoration from a time when people practiced duck and cover drills and built things out of concrete because fear had a budget. The crate is empty, except for brittle paper sleeves and 2 cans of emergency drinking water that expired before I was born. Behind the crate, the wall has a seam. Not a crack, not damage. A vertical seam under layers of paint. I move the crate, then drag a stack of old cafeteria trays out of the way. There is a door there. A real door. Steel, painted the same dull gray as the wall, with a recessed handle and no window. Someone covered it with storage because nobody wanted to deal with it, or someone did not want anyone to remember it existed. I pull the handle. It does not move. At the edge of the frame, just above knee height, there is a keyhole packed with paint. I scrape it with my pocket knife, then try 3 keys before one catches. The lock gives a hard metal snap that sounds too loud in the empty corridor. I pull again, and the door opens a few inches with a long scrape along the concrete floor. Cold air comes out. I stand there with my flashlight pointed into darkness and hear the school above me through the floor. Faint footsteps. A chair dragging. A muffled voice over the intercom asking teachers to check email. Under that normal school noise is the silence behind the steel door. It is not a room silence. It is deeper, held behind concrete. I push the door open wider. A narrow stairwell leads down farther than I expect. Concrete steps, pipe railing, yellow civil defense arrows painted on the wall. The paint is faded, but still readable. Shelter area below, keep right, no smoking. The air smells old, dry, and dusty. I shine my light down and see another landing, another steel door, and a sign that reads, Capacity 186. There are 412 students upstairs. I close the first door halfway and call Mr. Yates on the radio. I found something. His voice comes back with static. What kind of something? The old shelter. There is a pause long enough for me to hear the dehumidifier rattle 3 times. Say that again. There is a civil defense shelter under the old storage hall. Door was hidden behind supplies. Capacity sign says 186. Another pause. Then he says, Do not tell anyone yet. I already know why. The moment the word shelter gets loose, the school stops being a school. It becomes a locked box with not enough room inside. I go down alone first. The lower steel door opens easier than the upper one. My flashlight cuts across a concrete chamber with square support columns, rows of metal shelves, a small office with wired glass, and old benches folded against the wall. There are 2 side rooms. One says water, one says medical. The shelter is larger than I expected, but smaller than anyone will want. It was built for a different emergency, a different town, a different number of bodies. It was built for people who thought order would survive long enough for a roster. I walk the main room, counting exits. 1 stairwell up to the storage corridor. 1 sealed hatch at the far end, with a wheel handle and red paint around the frame. Emergency exit may be out near the playground or the old coal delivery ramp. I try the wheel. It moves a quarter turn, then stops. Rust. I do not force it. Not yet. The shelves hold old supplies. Cardboard boxes of sanitation kits, metal drums, cracked water cans, blankets stiff with age, first aid tins, rolls of toilet paper sealed in wax paper, 2 hand-crank air blowers mounted in the wall, and a stack of yellow forms for shelter registration. Most of it is useless. Some of it can still help. The room has power from 1 bare bulb circuit, but half the bulbs are dead. There is no modern ventilation except the old intake duct. There is a toilet room with 2 stalls and a floor drain. 1 sink gives brown water for 4 seconds, then clears a little, then turns weak. I radio again. It exists. It is not ready. We can put people here for hours, maybe a day if we control it. Not 400 kids and parents. Not staff plus parents. Not a crowd. Mr. Yates answers, "Come up." When I return to the office, he has Mrs. Harlan, the counselor Ms. Price, the vice principal Mr. Egan, and 2 teachers inside. The blinds are closed. Outside the office glass, parents fill the lobby. Some are signing children out. Some are shouting at each other because the line is slow. 1 man keeps asking if the school has buses coming. No one answers him because no one knows. Mr. Yates shuts the office door and asks me to explain everything again. I keep it short. Steel door, lower chamber, limited capacity, bad supplies. 1 main way in, possible emergency hatch stuck. Water uncertain. Ventilation old. No one talks for a moment after I finish. Ms. Price says, "We have children in kindergarten. We have special needs students. We have kids whose parents are not here and may not come." Mr. Egan says, "We do not even know if going underground is smart." I say, "It is smart if the doors upstairs fail." That ends the argument for a few seconds. Then the front lobby glass rattles from another fist hitting it. Mr. Yates opens the blinds just enough to look. The line of parents has become a crowd. Cars block the bus lane, the visitor spaces, part of the street. A police cruiser rolls past without stopping. It does not turn on lights. It just keeps going toward the main road. Mr. Yates turns from the window and looks older than he did an hour ago. We keep normal release until we cannot. We prepare the shelter quietly. "Daniel, get lights working if you can. Egan, choose staff who can move students calmly. Ms. Price, identify students who cannot handle stairs without help. Harlan, print class rosters. No one says shelter in front of parents." It is a good plan for 10 minutes. That is all it gets. I grab bulbs, extension cords, 2 battery work lights, a tool bag, and the emergency radio from the maintenance room. On my way back to the lower level, I pass the first grade hall. Teachers are teaching badly on purpose, just filling time. One room has kids coloring. Another has the projector on with a nature video and no sound. Mrs. Webb stands in her doorway with her arms folded, watching the front hall instead of her class. A little girl asks me if we are having a tornado drill. I tell her not today. At the storage corridor, I prop the cage door open with a broken chair and start moving boxes away from the shelter entrance. I do not stack them neatly. I throw them into the hall. Trays clatter. Old workbooks split open and slide across the floor. Dust gets into the air. I keep moving. The school above me keeps getting louder. Mr. Egan comes down with Coach Ramirez, Mrs. Webb, and 2 classroom aides. Coach Ramirez is calm in the way good gym teachers can be calm. He takes one look at the stairwell and says, "How many?" "Oh, 186 by the sign. Less if we need floor space and staff movement. We have over 300 still in the building." I know. Mrs. Webb grips the railing and looks down into the shelter. Who decides? No one answers her. We spend the next 20 minutes turning a forgotten shelter into a place children can enter without seeing panic on adult faces. Coach Ramirez and I drag benches down. Mrs. Webb wipes dust off shelves with wet paper towels from the staff bathroom. The aides carry down bottled water from the vending machine storage and snack boxes from classrooms. I get the lower lights working by replacing bulbs and running one extension cord from the storage hall, taped high along the stair railing so no one trips. We mark the stairs with strips of yellow duct tape. I force the emergency hatch wheel with penetrating oil and a pipe wrench until it moves half a turn. It is still jammed, but not dead. At 9:14, the power flickers. The bare bulbs in the shelter blink out, come back, blink again, and settle. From upstairs comes a rising sound of children reacting, not screaming, not yet. Just hundreds of voices startled at once. Then the intercom pops, and Mr. Yates says, "Teachers, continue current procedures. Please check your email for updated instructions." He is still trying to use school language. That is his job. I do not hate him for it. Language is the last fence he has. When I reach the office again, I see the front entrance is no longer under control. Parents are shoulder to shoulder inside the vestibule. Mrs. Harlan has stopped using the buzzer because someone jammed the outer door open with a planter. Mr. Calder is back, this time with his daughter Ava beside him, and he is yelling that he will not leave until his nephew is released too. A woman at the counter demands all 3 of her children from 3 different classrooms. A man records with his phone even though the signal is gone. He keeps saying, "This school is holding children." Mr. Yates stands behind the counter with both hands raised. "We are releasing students to verified guardians. We need everyone to remain calm." A parent shouts, "The hospital is gone." Everyone hears that. The office changes. People stop pushing for half a second because the word "gone" has weight. Then more voices start at once. I step into the office and say, "The side teacher lot is filling up. People are trying those doors." Mr. Yates nods once. "Lockdown, full lockdown." Mrs. Harlan stares at him. With parents inside? With whoever is inside. She reaches for the intercom with a shaking hand, catches herself, and presses the button. Her voice is thinner than usual, but the words come out. "Teachers, this is a lockdown. Locks, lights, out of sight. Repeat, lockdown, locks, lights, out of sight." It is the wrong drill for the situation, but it does one useful thing. It locks classroom doors before the lobby crowd can spread into the halls. I move with Mr. Egan to the main entrance. The outer door is jammed open by the planter. 2 parents are trying to push past him into the hall. Mr. Egan tells them students are locked down. One man grabs his sleeve, and I take the man's wrist and remove his hand without twisting it. He looks at me with a flat, furious expression and says, "My kid is in there." "So is everyone else's," I say. Behind us, the office phone rings on 3 lines at once. Outside, more cars arrive. Down the street, a siren starts, stops, then starts again. It is not moving closer. It sounds stuck somewhere. We get the planter out and close the outer door. I lock the vestibule override with my key. Parents trapped inside the lobby begin shouting that we cannot lock them in. Mr. Yates tells Mrs. Harlan to open the side office door and move them into the cafeteria, away from the front glass. Some refuse. Some follow because the front windows show too much of the parking lot now. A man stumbles between cars near the bus lane. He is not one of our parents. I can tell by the way no one runs to him. He wears hospital scrub pants and a winter coat with no shirt under it. Rain darkens his hair. He moves with one shoulder lower than the other, bumping against a parked minivan, then a school sign, then the hood of a car. The woman inside the car screams, but the glass hides most of the sound. The man in the coat turns toward the scream and begins hitting the driver's window with both hands. The lobby sees it. The whole school does not, but the lobby sees it. Mr. Yates says, "Daniel." I see him. "Can we move students down?" "We can move some, not all, not if parents see." A second person appears near the street, then a third. Not running, not organized. Drawn by the noise of cars, horns, shouting, locked doors, and the fact that people are still trying to behave in public while the street is no longer public. Mr. Yates looks at Miss Price. She looks toward the kindergarten hallway. A child is crying behind a locked classroom door, a small sound carrying through the crack near the floor. That decides it for her before anyone says the words. "We move the youngest first," she says. "Kindergarten, first grade, special needs, then second. Quiet lines, no backpacks." Mr. Egan says, "Parents will notice." Ms. Price turns on him. Parents already noticed the world is ending outside. No one corrects her. At 9:31, we begin moving children to the shelter without using the word shelter. The instruction goes out by runner, not intercom. Intercom words carry to parents, and parents carry words into panic. Coach Ramirez takes the gym side. I take the old hall. Teachers are told to line students up for an interior relocation drill. No backpacks, no lunch boxes, hands free. Stay with class, lights off behind them, doors locked after exit. If anyone asks, we say utility issue. If anyone cries, we keep walking. Mrs. Webb's kindergarten class is first. I meet her at the corner with my work light raised low, pointed at the floor. 21 children stand in a line with hands on shoulders. One boy carries a stuffed dinosaur because Mrs. Webb decided fighting him over it would waste more control than letting him hold it. She looks at me and says, "How bad are the stairs?" "Hold the rail. One adult front, one middle, one back. Slow." The kids smell of crayons, shampoo, raincoats, and cafeteria breakfast. One asks where we are going. Mrs. Webb says, "A safer room." She does not lie more than that. I respect it. The first child reaches the steel door and stops. The stairwell is dark enough to look wrong even with the work light. I kneel beside him and point to the yellow tape on the step. "Follow the tape. Count steps if you want. There are 16 to the landing, then 12 more." He starts counting out loud. Other kids join. 16 children counting stairs in little voices, while adults above them lock doors and parents pound on glass. That sound stays with me, but I keep moving because if I stop, the line stops. At the bottom, Coach Ramirez receives them and seats them against the west wall. Mrs. Webb checks names on a printed roster. The aide gives each child a paper cup of water, half full. Not full, because half cups spill less. That is the kind of thinking a crisis creates. Every inch matters. Every ounce matters. Every mistake travels. First grade comes next, then the special education room. 2 students use mobility chairs. The shelter stairs were not built for them. There is no ramp, no lift, no kindness in the architecture. We carry the chairs down empty and support the students on the stairs with 3 adults each, step by step, while other children wait in the hall facing the wall so nobody sees too much. One boy named Parker refuses to enter the stairwell. He sits down on the floor and wraps both arms around the railing post. His aide, Mrs. Cullen, crouches beside him and speaks in a quiet voice. The line backs up behind him. From upstairs, a crash echoes through the front office area. Parker looks at me, not at her, and says, "Is my mom here?" I do not know. That is the worst part. His mom may be in the cafeteria. She may be in a car. She may be miles away trying to reach him through roads that no longer work. I cannot give him a safe answer. "I'm here," Mrs. Cullen says. "You and me, right now. We go together." He does not move. I take the ring of keys from my belt and hold it out. "Parker, I need someone to carry these down. They are important. If I drop them, we lose doors." He looks at the keys. Keys make sense to him. Tasks make sense. He takes them, stands, and goes down with Mrs. Cullen, holding one hand near his elbow without touching until he allows it. I follow behind, and for those 30 seconds, the whole evacuation depends on a child deciding to carry keys. At 10:02, the cafeteria crowd finds out. I'm halfway up the stairwell when the shout comes from above. Not one voice, many. I step into the storage corridor and see 3 parents at the cage door. One is Mr. Calder. He must have followed a staff member or forced his way through the cafeteria service door. He sees the open steel door behind me and understands before I say anything. "What is that?" he asks. "Restricted lower level. Go back to the cafeteria." He pushes the cage door. It hits the chair wedge and stops. "Is that where the kids are?" "Go back." A woman behind him starts crying. "You have a bunker? You have a bunker under the school?" The word goes out through the hallway before I can stop it. Bunker, not shelter. Bunker sounds stronger, bigger, more unfair. It turns the hidden room into a promise, and promises make people dangerous when supply is limited. Mr. Calder slams his palm against the cage door. "My daughter is down there?" "She is safe." "Then open it." "No." His face changes, not into evil. That would be too simple. It changes into the face of a father who can no longer accept any rule that separates him from his child. I understand it. I still do not open the door. Behind him, more parents are entering the corridor. Some carry children already signed out. Some have no child with them. Some are staff spouses who came in through side doors. The hallway fills too fast. Voices bounce off concrete. The children in the shelter can hear it below. I know because I hear them go quiet. "Mr." Egan appears behind the parents and tries to order everyone back to the cafeteria. Nobody listens. A man shouts that staff saved their own kids first. That is not true, but truth does not have much force in a packed hall. Another parent says the shelter belongs to taxpayers. A woman says her baby needs to go down. Someone else says no adults without children. The argument becomes math, then blame, then threat. I key the radio. Yates, shelter is compromised. Parents found the entrance. Static answers first, then Mr. Yates. Can you hold it? For now? For how long? I look at the cage door, the chair wedge, the old lock, the number of adults growing in front of it. Not long. He says, I'm coming. Outside the building, a car horn begins and does not stop. It blares for 10 seconds, 20, 30, then cuts off in a cracked, dying sound. The crowd in the corridor hears it. Everyone becomes more urgent. I step close to the cage door. Listen to me. There is limited space. We are moving children first. If you force this door, children get hurt on the stairs? Back up. Mr. Calder says, adults can stand. No, adults can crush kids on stairs. Then organize it? We are. You hit it. Yes, I say. Because this is what happens when people hear about it. That hits him. It also makes him angrier because it is not wrong. Mr. Yates arrives with Miss Price and Coach Ramirez. Coach came up from below through the stairwell, which means Mrs. Webb is alone down there with the first groups. I do not like that. Coach sees the crowd and positions himself beside me without speaking. He is big enough to matter, but not big enough to stop 30 frightened adults if 30 frightened adults decide the cage door is only metal. Mr. Yates raises his voice. Parents, listen carefully. We have an interior emergency area below. It is not a full shelter. It is not stocked for everyone. We are moving students in stages. Any pushing at this entrance will stop the movement and put children at risk. A woman says, My son is still upstairs. Ms. Price steps forward. Name and teacher. Eli Grant, 3rd grade, Mr. Sloan. Ms. Price writes it on her clipboard. We are moving 3rd grade next. That simple act helps. Names help. A clipboard helps. People need proof that order still exists. For 2 minutes, we regain the hallway. Parents start calling names. Ms. Price writes them down. Mr. C. Yates assigns groups. Parents with children already released must move to the cafeteria interior wall. Parents whose children are still in class must wait for class movement. No one goes down except students and assigned staff until all lower grade students are accounted for. Then the front glass breaks. The sound is distant from the storage corridor but clear enough. A heavy crash, then a rain of safety glass, then screaming from the lobby and cafeteria. Not children screaming from classrooms, adults from the lobby. The building shifts from argument to survival in 1 second. People in the corridor turn toward the sound, then back toward the shelter door. That is worse. The outside threat does not send them away from us. It drives them toward the stairs. Coach Ramirez says, Daniel. I know. Mr. Yates keys his radio. All staff, move interior now. Students remain locked down until escorted. Repeat, remain locked down until escorted. Mr. Egan's voice comes through, broken by static. Front vestibule breached. 2 individuals entered, not parents. Security gate is down, but not holding. The old building has a metal security gate between lobby and main hall. It was installed after a break-in years ago. I helped maintain it. I know the latch is weak. Mr. Yates looks at me. Can we close the shelter? Not until all kids are down. How many? Kindergarten first, special education are down. 2nd is moving. 3rd not yet. 4th and 5th still upstairs. We cannot fit all. I told you. Now he has to decide with people looking at him. So a decision hidden in an office is one thing. A decision in front of parents is another. Ms. Price says, "Children first. We do not change that." Mr. Calder hears her and turns toward the crowd. "Children first, fine. Then open the door and send children first." "He is right," someone says. "He is partly right and partly wrong." That is what makes it dangerous. If we open the cage and let the crowd press toward the stairwell, children will be pushed. If we keep the cage locked, parents believe we are choosing who lives. Both facts exist in the same hallway. I tell Coach, we need a lane, benches, carts, anything. One line of kids through, parents behind the tape. Coach nods and starts moving storage shelves. I pull old folding tables from the wall and turn them sideways to make a narrow channel from the main corridor to the cage. Mr. Yates orders parents back. Some move, some refuse. Ms. Price starts calling student names from her clipboard and telling parents to stand on the left wall if their child is already below, right wall if waiting. It is messy, loud, and almost fails every 10 seconds, but it creates just enough shape for the next class. Second grade arrives with Mrs. Dorsey in front, holding her roster above her head. Her face is pale but controlled. The children walk in a line, wide-eyed, hands tight around each other's backpack straps even though we told them no backpacks. One boy has one on anyway. I pull it off gently and set it aside. He starts to protest. I say, "You need both hands on the rail." He sees the stairs and stops arguing. Parents surge when children appear. Mr. Calder shouts Ava's name from behind the table barrier. Ava turns, sees him, and tries to step out of line. Mrs. Dorsey catches her hand. Mr. Calder reaches over a table, and Coach Ramirez plants both palms on the table edge and holds it in place. "You touch that table again," Coach says, and the line stops. Mr. Calder freezes. Ava starts crying. Her father lowers his arm slowly. "Baby, go down. I'm right here." That is the first time he helps us. We move second grade down, then 2 mixed groups from speech therapy and reading support, then third grade. While those groups pass, the security gate at the lobby gives a loud metallic bang, again and again. Each bang moves through the floor. The adults in the corridor flinch toward the shelter door. Children look at teachers. Teachers look at me. I keep my hand on the cage key and my eyes on the line. At 10:29, the security gate fails. Mr. Egan's voice on the radio turns sharp. "Main hall breach. We are blocking with tables. Need help." Mr. Yates looks toward the upper hallway. If he goes, he leaves us with parents. If he stays, the main hall may open. He tells Coach to go. Coach hesitates only once, then runs toward the lobby. I hear the school change above and ahead. Tables scraping, adults yelling instructions, a fire extinguisher discharged somewhere, filling part of the hall with chemical dust, doors slamming. The infected, because that is what I have started calling them in my head, do not sound human in any useful way. They make noise because bodies make noise when they hit objects, when shoes drag, when hands slap against glass, when throats push out broken sounds. I do not need to describe it more than that. It is enough. The 4th grade classes are still upstairs. We cannot fit them all below. Even if we pack everyone tight, the shelter cannot hold every student, every teacher, every parent, every staff member who has come inside, every person who sees the door. Air, water, toilet access, movement, and basic control will fail. The shelter saves people only if it stays organized. That is the part nobody wants to hear because it makes survival depend on exclusion. Mr. Yates finally says what he has been avoiding. We fill the shelter with children and required staff only, remaining students to interior classrooms if we run out of space. Parents do not go down until all students are placed. A parent near the wall says, "You cannot keep me from my child." Ms. Price says, "Your child dies if you turn those stairs into a crowd." The parent goes quiet. Not convinced. Quiet. Fourth grade comes in 2 groups. The first group gets down. The second stops at the corridor because the stairwell below is backing up. Mrs. Webb radios from the shelter that floor space is nearly full. Children are seated shoulder to shoulder along walls, under shelves, between columns. The toilet room has a line. One aide is dealing with a panic episode. The lower room is getting loud. I go halfway down and see it for myself. The shelter that seemed empty and solid an hour ago is now packed with children sitting on concrete, teachers kneeling between them, cups of water on the floor, rosters taped to columns, old blankets spread under kindergarten students, emergency lights throwing hard shadows under shelves. It is not a refuge. It is a room filled beyond comfort by people trying hard not to admit the room is too small. Mrs. Webb comes to the stair base. "Daniel, we can take maybe 60 more if no parents come down." "Maybe." "We still have 4th and 5th. She closes her eyes for 1 second, opens them and says, "Then no parents." Above us, the corridor erupts. I run back up. A man I do not know has forced his way through the table barrier. He is trying to climb over instead of waiting. Mr. Tukia Calder is holding him by the jacket from behind. 2 other parents are shouting. Ms. Price is pressed against the wall with her clipboard bent in half. 4th grade children are frozen in a line, watching adults become the thing we warned them not to become. I grab the man's belt and pull him backward off the table. He lands on his feet, but slips on loose papers. He swings his elbow without looking. It catches my shoulder. I shove him into the lockers hard enough to stop him, not hard enough to break him. Mr. Yates steps between us and says, "Enough." The man points at the shelter door. "My wife is dead out there, and my son is in this school. You will not lock me out." No one speaks. His son is not with the 4th grade line. His son might be in 5th grade. His son might already be downstairs. His son might have been picked up. Nobody knows in that second. The man is not a villain. He is a man who arrived too late to a system already failing, and he is carrying one fact he cannot survive. He does not know where his child is. Ms. Price looks at her damaged clipboard. Name: Tyler Boone, 5th grade. Mr. Avery. She checks the roster pages. Her finger moves down one list, then another. 5th grade is still in the North Hall. He is with Mr. Avery. The man tries to go that way. Mr. Yates blocks him. "You cannot go. You just told me where he is. And the hall is not secure." He laughs once, but it has no humor in it. "Then why is my kid still there?" "Because we do not have enough room. Because the district plan never covered this. Because an old shelter sign said 186, and everyone upstairs is more than a number. Because every adult in the building has reached the edge of what procedure can hold. I say, I can get him." Mr. Yates turns to me. "Daniel, I know the North Hall. I know the service route behind the stage. I can bring Avery's class through the music storage corridor and avoid the lobby." Mr. Boone looks at me with a desperate focus. "Bring Tyler." "I will bring the class if the route is open." He starts to speak again, but Ms. Price cuts him off. Then you hold this line while he goes. That is how you help your son. The man stares at her. Then he looks at the table barrier, the children, the stairwell. He nods once and takes Coach Ramirez's empty spot at the table without being asked twice. I leave the shelter entrance with my radio, flashlight, and a fire extinguisher. I do not take a weapon from a parent. I do not ask for one. A school hallway with children behind doors is no place for panic tools. The extinguisher is heavy and familiar matters. The main hall is blocked by cafeteria tables turned on their sides. White extinguisher powder hangs in the air, making the floor gritty. Mr. Egan and Coach Ramirez are holding the barrier with 3 teachers and 2 parents. On the other side, near the lobby, I see movement through the haze. 2 infected are caught against the office counter. One is the man from the parking lot in the winter coat. Another wears a delivery uniform. The glass doors behind them are broken. Rain blows across the lobby floor. I do not go that way. I cut through the gym storage room, past racks of dodgeballs and folded mats, into the equipment closet, through the back door to the stage hallway. Briar Glen has a weird layout because additions were built around older walls. Most people hate it. I have cursed it for years. Today it gives me another path. The stage hallway is dark except for exit signs. The school smells different here. Not cafeteria and crayons now. Dust, extinguisher powder, wet pavement, and the sour odor of old mop water from a bucket someone abandoned. I move slowly because sound travels through these side halls. Above the stage, rain ticks against the roof vents. Somewhere in the north wing, a classroom phone rings and rings. I reach the music storage corridor and find the door to the north hall locked from the other side. Good. But that means the hall has not been opened. I use my key, crack it, and look through. The north hall lights are off. 5th grade classrooms line both sides. The children are out of sight, the way lockdown drills teach them. The hallway is empty except for a rolling cart tipped near the water fountain and a line of muddy footprints leading from the far stairwell to the nurse's office door. The nurse is not here today. I know that. The nurse's office should be empty. Something moves inside it. I close the music corridor door and use the radio. Avery, this is Daniel. Are you in room 24? Static. Then a whisper. Yes. How many? 26 students, 1 aide. We have Tyler Boone. Can you move to the music corridor on my signal? A pause. There is someone in the hall. I know. I keep lights off. I am coming to your door first. No talking when I open it. I stay low, not because crouching turns me invisible, but because the classroom window panels are narrow, and I do not want 26 children to see me through the glass and react. I pass the nurse's office. The door is ajar by 3 inches. Inside, a chair scrapes. I keep moving. Not every problem gets solved the moment I see it. Some problems get passed, because the larger task matters more. Room 24 is locked. I tap twice low on the door with my keys, then unlock it. Mr. Avery stands inside with a yardstick in both hands. He lowers it when he sees me. His face looks drained, but he is steady. Students sit along the wall under the windows. No one speaks. One girl has both hands over her mouth. Tyler Boone is near the bookcase, shouting, wearing a red hoodie and staring at me with the same eyes as his father. I whisper, no backpacks, hands free, single line. We go through music storage. No one runs unless I say. If someone falls, the line stops and helps. Mr. Avery nods. He knows better than to ask where we are going. The aide, Miss Collins, helps form the line. Tyler ends up fourth from the front. He whispers, "Is my dad here?" "Yes," I say. "He is helping hold the way." That answer gives him something to carry. He stands straighter. We move into the hall. 26 fifth graders can be quiet when silence has become real. Sneakers make soft sounds on tile. Mr. Avery stays at the back with the yardstick. Miss Collins is near the front. I walk ahead, extinguisher ready, eyes on the nurse's office. The door opens wider. A woman steps out. Not the nurse. Not a staff member. She has a visitor badge stuck to her sweater, which means she entered earlier before the office lost control. Her face is slack, her hair wet, one shoe missing. She turns toward the line because the line makes a sound no one can fully hide. Miss Collins stops. The children behind her stop too quickly and bump shoulders. I raise one hand, palm back. Stay. The woman takes one uneven step, then another. Her visitor badge swings from a blue lanyard. I can read the handwritten name from 6 feet away. Nora, that is all. Nora, who came to get someone. Nora, who did not make it out. Nora, who is now blocking 26 children from the only safe route I know. I pull the pin on the extinguisher and discharge a hard blast across the hallway, not at her face for cruelty, but into the space in front of her. White powder fills the air. She staggers toward the sound and motion. I step to the side and drive the bottom of the extinguisher into the nurse's office door, slamming it wider into her path. She hits the door edge, falls into the office, and I shove the door shut with my shoulder. The latch does not catch. I grab the rolling cart from the water fountain, ram it under the handle, and hook the extinguisher hose through the cart frame and door closer. It will not hold long. It does not need to. Move, I say. The line moves. No one screams. One child makes a small sound and clamps it down. Mr. Avery puts a hand on his shoulder and keeps him moving. We pass through the music storage corridor, past drums and music stands, into the stage hallway. The main hall barrier is still holding when we reach the gym side. Coach sees us and waves us toward the lower corridor. Tyler's father sees his son at the same time. He does not break the line. That is important. He grips the table edge with both hands and says, "Keep walking, Ty. Do what he says." Tyler turns his head but keeps moving. His father makes himself stay behind the barrier. That may be the bravest thing I see all day. We get Avery's class to the shelter entrance. The lower room is at capacity before the last child reaches the stairs. Mrs. Webb radios up. "Daniel, stop after this group. We are full." I look at the remaining 5th grade line still waiting in the hall behind Mr. Avery's class. 2 more classes, around 50 children, plus teachers, plus the parents who now know no more children can go down. Mr. Yates hears the same radio call. His face goes still. He turns toward me, and for a second I see him not as a principal, but as a man who will be remembered by whoever survives for the next decision he makes. He says, "Library." I understand. The library has no exterior windows except high, narrow ones. It has 2 solid doors, an emergency exit to the interior courtyard, and a storage closet with a sink, because it used to be a media workroom. It is not a shelter, but it is defensible enough for the students who cannot fit below. I tell him, "Move remaining 5th and 4th overflow to library. Block both doors. Keep quiet. No parents except assigned helpers." A parent says, "You are splitting them up?" Mr. Yates says, "We are placing children where we can protect them." "You mean some get the bunker and some get shelves?" No one corrects the word this time. The unfairness is visible. It stands between us with faces and names. Ms. Price speaks before the argument grows. The shelter has younger children and students who cannot move quickly. Older students can stay quiet and help in the library. That is the decision. It is not perfect. It is not fair. It is the best available reason. The parent opens her mouth again. Then the main hall barrier slams so hard, one cafeteria table jumps an inch across the floor. The argument ends because sound has answered it. We split the school. I hate that sentence even in my own head. But that is what happens. The lower shelter gets kindergarten through part of 5th, to students with mobility needs, and staff assigned to manage them. The library gets remaining 4th and 5th, Mr. Avery, Miss Collins, Mr. Sloan, 2 aides, and 3 parents chosen because each one has already helped hold barriers instead of breaking them. Mr. Boone is one of them. Mr. Calder is another, which surprises me until I see Ava seated safely at the bottom of the shelter stairs and realize he is no longer trying to get in. He has shifted from demanding rescue to helping protect the door that rescued his daughter. At 10:58, we close the shelter door for the first time. Not sealed forever, not abandoned, closed. That distinction matters, but it does not comfort anyone in the corridor. I stand at the top of the stairwell while Mrs. Webb looks up from below. The shelter is packed. Children sit with knees pulled in, teachers moving carefully between rows. The air is already warmer. The old blower fan turns with a dry clicking sound after Coach gets it running by hand crank. The toilet line is being controlled by a sign-out sheet. Water is rationed by class. It is ugly and organized is the only reason it may work. Mrs. Webb says, "If you close it, we need a signal." 3 knocks from outside before opening. You answer with 2. Nobody opens for voices. She nods. And if we do not answer, then we find another way. She does not ask what that means. She knows I do not have one yet. I close the lower steel door. The sound is heavy and final. The children below disappear behind metal. At the upper corridor, parents stare at me. Some are angry. Some look relieved and guilty. Some look emptied out. Mr. Yates tells anyone not assigned to the library or barrier teams to move to the cafeteria interior wall. Most do. A few refuse until Coach Ramirez returns from the main hall with extinguisher dust covering his sleeves and says, "Move now." They move. The next hour becomes work. Not fear. Work. That is how we stay useful. We secure the library. We pull bookcases away from one wall and use them to reinforce the main door from the inside. We stack tables below the high windows, so no one outside can see movement. We move students behind the circulation desk and into the reading pit area, away from doors. Mr. Avery organizes older kids into small jobs. Water count, quiet games for younger siblings who ended up with parents, paper signs, door watch, supply collection. Miss Collins finds a box of granola bars from a reading night event. We split them into halves. I run between the library, lower corridor, and main hall barrier with a radio that works only when it wants to. The infected at the front are not breaking through fast, but the building is attracting more. The rain has slowed, and with it, more people are outside. Some are infected. Some are desperate parents. Some are neighbors who saw cars and thought a school might still have authority. The front lobby is gone to us. The office is abandoned. Mrs. Harlan saved the emergency binder, the rosters, and a coffee can full of nurses' office keys. She cries once in the library storage closet, then wipes her face with a paper towel and starts matching students to guardian names from memory. At 11:42, the first group of late parents reaches the cafeteria windows. This is the moral crisis I still do not know how to judge, even while I am living inside it. They are not infected. They are not attackers. They are mothers, fathers, grandparents, an older brother from the high school, and one daycare worker with 3 preschool children in her car. They pound on the reinforced cafeteria doors and hold up phones with dead screens, IDs, custody papers, anything that proves they belong to someone inside. Behind them, across the staff lot, infected move between cars in slow, confused paths. The late parents know the danger is behind them. We know it too. The cafeteria has the only wide exterior doors not already compromised. If we open them, we may save some people. We may also lose the cafeteria, then the lower corridor, then the shelter entrance. If we keep them closed, we leave people outside who came for children. Some of those children are beneath our feet. Mr. Yates stands behind a stack of lunch tables and looks through the glass. A woman outside presses a handwritten sign to the door. "My son is Liam Foster. Mrs. Dorsey, please." Mrs. Dorsey's second-grade class is in the shelter. Liam is safe underground. His mother is outside in the rain with 3 infected halfway across the lot. Mr. Yates says, "We can bring her in." Coach Ramirez says, "Then the others rush. We bring in one at a time." With what staff? With what lock? With what room? Mr. Yates says nothing. Ms. Price reads the sign and closes her eyes for 1 second. If Liam sees his mother outside and we do nothing, he carries that forever. I say, if we open those doors and the cafeteria goes, he may not carry anything. That is harsh. I hear it when I say it. But harsh is not always wrong. Mr. Calder, standing near the serving line with a broom handle, says, "There has to be a way." There is sometimes a way, but it is usually worse than the sentence makes it sound. The cafeteria doors open outward. There is a short covered walkway, then the staff lot. A delivery vestibule connects to the kitchen, with a second steel door into the service hall. If we use the delivery vestibule as an airlock, 1 person at a time can enter, but only if the crowd obeys, only if infected do not push in with them, only if no parent outside decides 1 at a time is a lie. I explain it fast. Mr. Yates approves before he fully understands, because waiting is also a decision. Coach and I go through the kitchen. Maribel is there with another cafeteria worker, Denise, filling pitchers from the prep sink while water still runs. Maribel asks if her sister has called. I shake my head. She nods once and keeps filling pitchers. No dramatic scene, no collapse. Just a woman doing the job in front of her because the job behind her hurts too much. We clear the delivery vestibule. I lock the inner kitchen door. Coach stands there with a table leg. I go to the outer delivery door and shout through it. 1 at a time. Hands visible, no pushing. If anyone pushes, we close it and stop. Children inside depend on this door staying controlled. Someone outside shouts, "Open it!" I point through the small, wired glass window at the woman with Liam's sign. "You first. Alone." She looks behind her, terrified of the anger around her. Then she moves forward. Another man tries to follow. Mr. Boone, from inside the cafeteria, slams his palm on the glass and shouts, "Back up or nobody gets in." His voice cuts through the crowd because it carries the same desperation. A parent outside listens to another parent before listening to staff. That matters. I open the door 6 inches, grab Liam's mother by the sleeve, and pull her into the vestibule. She stumbles, clutching the sign. I shut the door and lock it before the second hand hits the frame. Outside, the man who tried to follow pounds on the window. Liam's mother turns toward him and says, "I'm sorry," though he cannot hear through the glass. We check her arms, face, and clothing for obvious injuries. That sentence sounds cruel until it becomes necessary. She understands before I finish explaining. "I'm not hurt. I fell once. That's mud. Please, Liam, is he here?" "He's inside. He is safe." Her mouth opens, but no sound comes. Then she nods too many times. We bring her into the kitchen, then cafeteria. We do it again with an older grandfather, then the daycare worker and the 3 preschool children together, because separating them would cause more chaos than it solves. On the 4th attempt, the system fails. A man outside shoves forward while the outer door opens. He grabs the edge and tries to pull it wide. 2 others push behind him. One of the infected in the lot turns toward the noise and starts moving faster than the others. Not sprinting, not clean movement, but urgent. The man at the door yells that his daughter is inside. I tell him to let go. He does not. Coach reaches over my shoulder and strikes the man's hand with the table leg, not hard enough to break it, hard enough to make him release. I slam the door. The infected reaches the covered walkway and hits the group outside from the side. People scatter. The woman at the front glass with the next sign disappears from view. Not because of a dramatic attack I need to describe, because the crowd breaks apart and the door is no longer a rescue point. It is a point of failure. I lock the delivery door and step back. Coach stands beside me, breathing through his nose, staring at the small window. Outside, hands slap the glass again. More voices, more names, more proof. We do not open it. That decision changes the adults inside. Some understand, some never will. Liam's mother sits on the cafeteria floor with her sign folded in both hands and whispers that her son is safe until Mrs. Harlan leads her toward the lower corridor. Mr. Yates tells her she cannot go into the shelter yet. She accepts that because she has just been outside and knows what doors mean now. At 12:26, the city sirens start. Not police sirens, outdoor warning sirens. The kind tested on clear Wednesdays, the kind children hear and ignore. They rise over the school from poles around town, long and steady. The sound enters through broken glass, vents, walls, and old ducts. The infected outside react to it. So do the children. The shelter radios crackle. Mrs. Webb reports increased noise below. The library reports students asking if it is tornado weather. It is not tornado weather. It is a warning with no instruction attached. The sirens run for 4 minutes. Then a recorded message begins somewhere outside, distorted by distance. Remain indoors. Avoid contact. Do not travel to schools, hospitals, or public safety buildings. Shelter in place. Emergency distribution points will be announced when safe. Do not travel to schools. The message comes hours too late, after the school has already become a distribution point for fear. By early afternoon, the building is divided into zones. Front lobby lost. Main hall barrier contested. Cafeteria controlled but exposed. Library quiet but overcrowded. Lower shelter sealed and full. Gym and stage hall used for movement. Kitchen water still running. Boiler room intact. Exterior doors checked every 15 minutes. Radios unreliable. Phones mostly useless. The rain stops. That makes outside sounds clearer. The infected gather at noise sources and then drift when the noise changes. They do not plan. They do not coordinate. But a school full of people produces endless small signals. A dropped tray, a child crying, a door closing, a toilet flushing, a parent calling a name from outside. Every sound writes a path toward us. At 1:08, the water pressure drops. Maribel notices first because the prep sink goes from a steady stream to a weak rope of water. She fills the last pitcher and says, "That is it." I go to the boiler room and check the domestic water line. Pressure gauge low, nothing I can fix from inside. City water is failing or being shut down. I radio the shelter. Start hard ration. No sink use except staff. Save toilet flushes unless necessary. Mrs. Webb answers with 2 clicks and 1 sentence. Understood. No complaint. No question. She has become the shelter lead because the room accepted her before anyone assigned it. That happens in crisis. Authority goes to whoever keeps solving the next problem. At 1:34, the shelter air turns into a problem. The old blower works, but not well enough for the number of people below. Children are restless. Staff are rotating hand crank duty, but the intake vent may be partly blocked outside. No one is in immediate danger, but comfort is gone, and discomfort turns into panic if it has nowhere to go. I know where the intake is supposed to be. Somewhere behind the old shrubs near the north wall. A concrete vent stack half buried by decades of mulch. I have trimmed around it before without knowing what it served. To clear it properly, someone has to go outside or access the crawl space under the north addition. Outside is not an option. The crawl space might be... I tell Mr. Yates. He says no before I finish. Then the shelter radio comes alive with children shouting in the background, and he stops arguing. The crawlspace entrance is in the music storage room, behind a plywood panel screwed into the wall. I bring my tool bag, knee pads, flashlight, and a dust mask. Coach wants to come. I tell him he is more useful holding the main hall. Mr. Calder offers instead. I almost refuse because an hour ago he was trying to force the cage door. Then I remember he held the line when Ava went down. People are not one thing all day. I hand him a second flashlight. The crawl space is 28 inches high in parts, with dirt floor, old pipes, cable runs, and spider webs thick enough to collect dust. We crawl on elbows and knees. The school above us makes dull sounds through the floor. The crawl space smells of damp dirt and mouse droppings. Mr. Calder says nothing for the first 20 feet. Then he says, "Ava okay down there?" She was seated with her class when I checked. I almost made it worse. Yes. He crawls another few feet. You do not soften things. No time. We reach the vent shaft after 15 minutes of slow movement. The intake screen is clogged from the outside with leaves, plastic wrappers, and mud that has hardened into a crust. From inside, I can reach part of it through a maintenance elbow if I remove 4 bolts. 2 bolts come out. 1 strips. 1 snaps. I use a pry bar and bend the access plate enough to get my arm through. No physical fear description needed here. The crawl space is narrow. The metal edge is sharp. Something scrapes outside the vent while I am working, and both of us stop moving. Through the clogged screen, I see daylight in broken pieces. A shoe passes, then another. Someone is walking outside near the shrubs. Mr. Calder whispers, "Parent?" I watch the shoe drag, stop, turn, scrape against concrete. No. The infected outside presses against the vent stack, maybe hearing us, maybe drawn by the vibration of the metal. The screen flexes inward. Dirt falls on my sleeve. I pull my arm back slowly. Mr. Gotcha, Calder raises the pry bar because there is nothing else to raise. The screen holds. The infected moves on after a sound from the parking lot pulls it away. We wait 10 seconds, 20. Then I reach back in and clear the blockage by hand. Leaves, wrappers, mud, clumps of wet mulch. Air begins moving through the duct with a faint pull. Not much, but enough to matter. The shelter radio crackles a few minutes later. Mrs. Webb says, "Air improved." Mr. Calder closes his eyes and rests his forehead against his sleeve for 1 second. Then he says, "Good," and starts crawling back. When we return to the music room, the library has changed. The older students have become useful in small, necessary ways. 2 girls are tearing paper towels into strips for cleanup. A boy with thick glasses tracks water inventory on a whiteboard. Mr. Avery has drawn a simple map of the school on butcher paper and marked safe, unsafe, unknown. Tyler Boone sits beside his father near the library door, not touching him, just close enough. Mr. Boone sees us return and nods once. He has not asked to go to the shelter. That may be because Tyler is with him now. It may be because he understands the math. It may be both. At 2:11, the first parent inside demands to leave. His name is Glenn Porter. His daughter was signed out before the lockdown and is with him in the cafeteria. He says he has a truck near the side lot and a house 2 miles away. He says sitting inside a school is suicide. He says the shelter is not for him. The library is not for him. And he will not wait for government rescue that is not coming. He is not entirely wrong. That is the problem with most bad decisions. They contain one real fact. Mr. Yates tells him the exits are unsafe. Glenn says he is leaving anyway. Mr. Yates says we cannot unlock a side door for one person. Glenn says he will break one. His daughter, maybe 7 years old, stands behind him holding a purple backpack against her stomach. She looks tired and confused, not ready for the decision her father is making for both of them. I tell Glenn, if you break a door, you may get people killed. He points at the shelter corridor. You already picked who gets to live. That is not what happened. That is exactly what happened. I do not have a clean answer. We did choose. We chose by age, mobility, timing, behavior, and space. And we chose because not choosing would have let force choose. It still looks ugly from where he stands. Ms. Price steps between us and speaks to his daughter, not him. Maya, are you thirsty? Glenn snaps. Do not talk to her. Maya nods anyway. Ms. Price offers a cup. Glenn looks at it, then at his daughter, and the fight drains enough for him to take the cup and hand it to her. He does not leave right then. He sits against the cafeteria wall with his arms on his knees, staring at the doors. We have not convinced him. We have delayed him. Delay matters. At 2:40, Mr. Egan reports that the main hall barrier cannot hold much longer. The infected in the lobby have increased. Some came through broken glass. Some came from side offices. We need to abandon the front half completely and fall back behind the second fire doors near the gym and lower corridor. Those doors are metal with push bars and magnetic holds tied to the alarm system. If we release them and wedge them from our side, we can create a better line. The problem is Mrs. Harlan's office printer, which still holds student pickup records, medical forms, and the emergency contact binder. She says she needs it. Mr. Yates says no. She says some parents inside do not know if a child is in the shelter or library because rosters split during movement. The records can prevent more panic. She is right. Mr. Yates tells her no again. She looks at me. I hate that look because it means she knows I know a service route. The office is not safe, but it is not unreachable. A narrow records room connects to the staff mailroom, which connects to a storage closet behind the nurse's office, which connects to the North Hall. We used part of that route before. It is risky and stupid. It may also save order. I go with Mr. Egan. He insists. He has spent the day feeling useless compared with people carrying furniture and crawling under floors, and now he wants a task he can finish. I do not argue because every adult needs one task he can finish. We move through the North Hall. The nurse's office door is still jammed with the cart. Something inside has stopped hitting it. I do not check. We pass into the records room through a half door behind a filing cabinet. The air is hot here because the ventilation is off. The office beyond is visible through a wired glass panel. The front counter is empty. Papers are everywhere. The copier flashes an error light. The emergency binder is gone, but the old backup binder is still on the secretary shelf. 2 infected are in the lobby beyond the counter. One bumps against the attendance window again and again. The other stands near the broken vestibule doors, turning whenever sound changes outside. We need the printer shelf, not the lobby. We move low behind the counter, grab the pickup logs, medication binder, visitor log, and a stack of blank labels. Mr. Egan reaches for the printer output tray. The copier wakes up. It makes the loudest warm-up noise I have ever heard from a machine. A grinding, clicking, pointless office noise from a world that still believes paper matters. Both infected turn toward the counter. Mr. Egan freezes with one hand on the papers. I reach behind the copier and pull the power cord out of the wall. The noise dies. Too late. The infected at the attendance window hits the counter gate. Once, twice, the latch bends. Mr. Egan stuffs papers into his shirt and backs toward the records room. I grab the backup binder and follow. The counter gate gives way before we reach the half door. We get through and shove the filing cabinet across the entrance. The infected hits it from the other side. The filing cabinet moves an inch. Mr. Egan grabs the far side and pulls. I push a second cabinet into it. The impact comes again, but the cabinets hold. We return with records, and Mrs. Harlan takes them without celebrating. She starts making 3 lists: shelter, library, cafeteria, every name accounted for, every unknown circled. That list becomes more valuable than food for the next hour, because it gives parents a place to put questions. At 3:18, the power goes out for good. The building drops into emergency lighting. Red exit signs stay on. Some hallway lights fade to battery strips. The cafeteria goes dim. The library gets 2 battery lanterns and 1 work light. The shelter has my extension circuit for about 20 seconds, then nothing but battery lamps and flashlights. Children react in waves again. Adults speak calmly in rooms where calm has become a tool, not a feeling. The boilers shut down. The ventilation weakens. The intercom dies. The phones die. The school becomes a concrete and brick building full of separate pockets of people, each pocket hoping the others still exist. Now movement is dangerous. Every door has to be opened with intention. Every trip takes a person away from a barrier. We set a schedule. At the top of every hour, I knock on the shelter door. 3 knocks. Mrs. Webb answers with 2. We exchange written notes under the upper door when possible. The lower door stays closed unless emergency requires opening. The notes are simple. Water low. 1 student needs inhaler. Air acceptable. Children restless. Need bucket. Need batteries. The inhaler is in the nurse's office medication lockbox. Of course it is. The student is named Marcus Hill, 2nd grade. His inhaler is not optional. Mrs. Harlan confirms from the medical binder that the spare is in the nurse's office, blue pouch, labeled. The nurse's office is still blocked by the cart from the outside hall, but it can be accessed through the records room route if the filing cabinets hold. I look at the list, then at the dark hallway. No one asks if I am going. It is my building, my keys, my route. This time, Ms. Price comes with me. I tell her no. She says Marcus knows her and may need her if the delay is long. I tell her she cannot help with doors. She picks up a flashlight and says, "Then I help with Marcus when you get back." We go. The north hall is darker now. Emergency lights make the floor look uneven. The cart still blocks the nurse's office from the hall. Inside the office, something shifts when my key touches the records room door. Ms. Price stands behind me, silent, holding the flashlight beam steady on the lock. We enter through the records route, move behind the cabinets, and listen. The office counterside is active. The filing cabinets still hold, but there are more impacts now. The nurse's office interior door is to our left. I unlock it slowly. Nora, the visitor, is on the floor near the cot, tangled in a privacy curtain. She moves when the door opens. I do not let the light stay on her long. She was a person. She is now an immediate problem. The medication lockbox is on the wall above the sink. I step in, keeping the door between us, while Ms. Price holds the flashlight on the lockbox. The key ring feels wrong in my hand because I gave it to Parker earlier and got it back in the shelter, and now every key seems too similar. I try one. Wrong. Another. Wrong. Nora pulls against the curtain and knocks a tray off the cot. Metal instruments scatter across the floor. The sound brings impacts against the filing cabinets outside the records room. Ms. Price whispers, "Third small silver key." She knows because she has used it for field trip medication bags. I try it. The lock opens. Blue pouch. Marcus Hill. I grab it, plus 2 more labeled inhalers and a box of gloves. The curtain tears. Nora gets one hand free. I back out and shut the nurse's office door. It has no deadbolt. I loop a blood pressure cuff through the handle and around a wall rail, then tie it tight. Not permanent. Enough. Again, enough is the word that runs the day. When we return, Marcus's teacher is waiting at the shelter entrance with 3 knocks ready. We open only the upper door. Mrs. Webb comes up the stairs alone after answering the signal. She takes the inhaler pouch, checks the label, and says, "Thank you," with no extra words. Her face is damp with sweat from the packed shelter. Behind her, the lower dark is full of child voices trying to stay quiet. I want to ask how bad it is. I do not, because she would tell me, and then I would know one more thing I cannot fix. At 4:06, the fire alarm activates. No fire. The alarm panel is in the office, which we lost. Maybe smoke from an electrical short. Maybe water in a sensor. Maybe someone hit a pull station near the lobby. It does not matter. The alarm starts screaming through horns and strobes across the building. The emergency lights flash. Children cover ears. Infected outside and inside turn toward the sound. The entire school becomes a beacon. The fire doors release automatically. For once, old safety systems help us. The second fire doors near the gym swing closed, cutting off the front hall. We rush to wedge and barricade them from our side. Coach, Mr. Boone, Mr. Calder, Glenn Porter, Mr. Egan, and I stack tables, carts, and a vending machine against them. The alarm keeps blasting. We cannot hear each other unless we shout close. The shelter below cannot stay quiet through that. The library cannot stay calm. The cafeteria cannot hold parents who think fire means evacuation. Mr. Yates stands on a lunch table and shouts that no one is leaving, that the alarm is not a fire signal now, that outside is worse. His words vanish under the horns. Ms. Price climbs onto the table beside him, holds up the emergency binder, and starts pointing to the floor, then to the doors, then crossing both arms in front of her. Stay. 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 Some understand. Some do not. Glenn Porter decides this is his moment. He grabs Maya's hand and runs toward the side cafeteria door. I see him through the flash of strobes crossing behind the serving line. Maribel shouts. I leave the fire doors and cut through the kitchen. Glenn reaches the side door and slams the push bar. It opens 2 inches because I had locked the exterior chain earlier, but 2 inches is enough for outside air and sound to slice in. Hands hit the gap from outside. Glenn pulls Maya backward, stunned by how close danger was. The door keeps banging against the chain. I reach him and shove the door shut. Help me hold it. He stares at me. Help me hold it or it opens. He puts both hands on the door. Maya backs against the dishwashing station, clutching her purple backpack. Maribel grabs a mop handle and jams it through the crash bar bracket. I wrap a chain through the handle and around a pipe, then lock it with a padlock from my belt. The door still trembles under impacts, but it does not open again. Glenn looks at his daughter, then at the door, then at me. I thought I could get out. You almost let outside in. He nods. This time he hears it. The alarm continues for 11 minutes. 11 minutes in a building filled with children feels longer than any full hour before it. I cannot shut it off from our side. The panel is in the lost office. The backup panel in the boiler room is old and may silence local horns if the wiring still works. I go there through the lower corridor, past the shelter entrance, past parents seated against walls, past Mrs. Harlan calling names from lists under a lantern. The boiler room is black except for my flashlight. Without power, it feels abandoned in a way I have never seen. The backup alarm box is mounted near the sprinkler riser. I open it with a square key, read labels by flashlight, and find an old silent switch. I flip it. Nothing happens. I flip it back, then again. The horns cut off mid-blare. The silence is so sudden everyone hears the building itself. Rainwater dripping somewhere. Distant impacts at barricades. A child coughing. Someone praying under her breath in the cafeteria. Silence is not peace. It is a room where every other sound gets exposed. At 4:41, Mrs. Webb sends a note under the shelter door. Need to rotate some children out soon. Too hot. Too crowded. Geez, some older students can move to library if route safe. We cannot stay packed all night. She is right. The shelter saved lives for the first wave, but it cannot hold its full load indefinitely. The assumption that underground equals safe is wrong. Underground is only safe if air, water, space, sanitation, and exit control work together. Ours do not. The library may actually be better for older students now, if we can clear a path and keep the front contained. I bring the note to Mr. Yates. He reads it twice. Move children out of the shelter? Some, older ones. Make room below for the youngest to lie down. Reduce air load. Parents will see it as proof we lied. We did not lie. Conditions changed. That sounds like lying to a frightened parent. It sounds like maintenance, I say. Capacity was never just a number on a sign. He rubs his face, then stops because his hands are dirty. "How many can the library take?" Mr. Avery says from the doorway. 20 more if everyone sits tight. 30 if we move tables." Ms. Price says, "Fifth graders from shelter to library. Reunite with any parents already assigned there. No public announcement. Class by class." This is the first decision all day that feels slightly better than terrible. We open the shelter with the knock signal. Warm air comes up the stairwell. Mrs. Webb has organized the children into rows by class. She looks exhausted, but her voice is clear. We move fifth graders first. Quiet line. Hands on rail. No bags. Older kids emerge from below into the storage corridor, blinking in the dim light. Some look relieved. Some look guilty, leaving younger siblings behind. One girl asks if the little kids are staying because they were bad. Ms. Price crouches and says, "No, they need the safer room more. You are helping by making space." That is true, and because it is true, it calms her. The library absorbs the older students with a low murmur. Tyler Boone recognizes 2 classmates and shifts over to make room. Mr. Boone helps move tables. Glenn Porter, still ashamed from the side door, carries water pitchers without being asked. Mr. Calder goes to the lower corridor and asks me if Ava should stay below or come up. I say she should stay with her class. He nods. That is another sign of change. Earlier, he wanted his daughter with him at any cost. Now he accepts that being with him may not be the safest thing. At 5:17, the radio receives an outside transmission. Not school radio. The old emergency radio from the maintenance office. It has battery power and several bands. I have been turning the dial every hour and getting mostly static, fragments, dispatch tones, one automated weather report, and a preacher from somewhere far off. This time, a county emergency broadcast comes through weak but understandable. All public shelters overwhelmed. Law enforcement limited. Avoid hospitals, schools, and municipal buildings. Infection suspected through bites and direct fluid exposure. Individuals showing aggression and loss of verbal response should not be approached. Evacuation routes east and south blocked. Remain secured until daylight if currently sheltered. Until daylight. That phrase lands hard because it confirms no one is coming before night. It also gives us a concrete target. Survive until morning, not forever. Not civilization. Morning. Mr. Yates asks me to repeat the broadcast in simple terms to the adults. I do not include every detail. I say official guidance is to stay secured until daylight. I say roads are blocked. I say schools are no longer safe pickup points, which means opening doors for late arrivals is more dangerous than waiting. Parents hate it. Parents need it. Both can be true. The sun starts going down behind clouds before 6 o'clock. The school darkens room by room. We inventory batteries. We inventory water. We inventory food. The cafeteria has dry cereal, fruit cups, crackers, milk that will spoil without refrigeration, and a few cases of bottled juice. The kitchen has canned vegetables, industrial peanut butter, flour, sugar, and frozen items that are already thawing. We feed children first, then staff, then parents. Portions are small. No one likes that. No one has room to argue after the day we have had. Maribel makes the best decision of the evening. She opens the freezer, pulls all thawing breakfast sandwiches and hash browns, and says, "We cook now before it goes bad." No power means no ovens, but the kitchen has gas burners with manual ignition. We use long lighters from the emergency kit and cook what we can in sheet pans over burners. The smell of hot food moves through the cafeteria and almost breaks people because it feels normal. A school kitchen making food in a dead city is a powerful thing, not poetic, practical. Warm food settles children, and warm food gives adults 10 minutes of purpose. We carry trays to the library and shelter. The shelter gets food passed down by class. Mrs. Webb sends back a note. This helped. Thank kitchen. Maribel reads it and turns away for a moment. Then she starts another pan. At 6:44, something hits the emergency hatch below the shelter. The sound comes through the radio first. A hard metal knock from below Mrs. Webb's voice. Then another. Not our knock signal. Not from the stairwell. From the far end of the shelter, where the rusted hatch leads somewhere outside. Every person near the shelter entrance goes still. I take the pipe wrench and go down with Coach. The shelter is dim and crowded but calmer after the 5th grade rotation. Children sit with food cups. Teachers tell them to keep eating. Mrs. Webb meets us halfway and points toward the far wall. The emergency hatch is set into a concrete alcove behind shelves. The wheel handle on our side is partly loosened from my earlier work. The hatch itself vibrates with another hit. Something outside has found the exterior side. Maybe infected, maybe a person, maybe debris. The shelter children closest to it have been moved away, but there is nowhere far enough. Coach whispers, "Can it open outward?" Outward from us, inward from outside. I need to check. I inspect the hinges and frame by flashlight. The hatch opens inward to the shelter. Bad design for us. Good design for old rescue crews. If the outside latch or rust gives way, the hatch could open into the shelter. I tighten the wheel back down. Then I chain the wheel to a support bracket with the heaviest chain I have. Coach and I move 2 metal shelves against it, then stack supply drums and sand-filled mop buckets at the base. Another hit comes while my hand is still on the chain. The shelf jumps, but holds. Mrs. Webb says, "Can we stay here?" For now. For now is getting shorter. I know. That is when I begin thinking about leaving the school. Not immediately, not in panic, not through the front. But mourning may not solve anything. The shelter is not a long-term answer. The building is compromised. Water is failing. Food is limited. Parents outside may return in larger numbers. The infected will not simply wander away if the school keeps making sound. We need a route to move everyone who can move to a safer place after daylight. The school has one possible route: the old storm drainage access behind the playground. I know it because years ago a contractor opened it while replacing a line near the north fence. It is not a tunnel meant for people, but a maintenance culvert runs under the back field toward the creek easement. The emergency hatch may connect near it, or the old coal ramp may lead toward that side. If we can clear the hatch from inside and use the back drainage route, we might move people out without using the front roads. That idea is ugly. It means taking children from one bad place through another uncertain space. But staying all night and hoping for rescue may be uglier. I do not share it yet. An untested escape plan can become another false promise. At 7:23, we secure night positions. Library lights off except one lantern under a table. Cafeteria adults in shifts at doors. Main fire doors reinforced. Shelter closed and checked hourly. Kitchen quiet. No more cooking because smell and sound drift. Children are told it is a long safety drill. Older students know enough to reject that, but enough to stay quiet. Younger children sleep in uneven patches, heads on folded coats, hands still holding cups or stuffed animals. I walk the building with Coach Ramirez. We do not speak much. We check chains, wedges, barricades, water containers, battery levels, and the crawl space panel. In the gym, rainwater has leaked through a roof seam and formed a shallow puddle near the bleachers. I place towels because someone will slip later if I do not. That is how normal maintenance continues inside the end of a normal day. Mike, you still fix the puddle. Coach says, "You think we get through the night?" Yes. He looks at me. I did not say tomorrow. He nods. That answer is enough. At 8:02, Mr. Yates finally sits down. He has been moving for 14 hours. He sits on a cafeteria bench with the emergency binder open in front of him, staring at student names. Ms. Price sits beside him. No one talks to him for a minute, and he seems smaller without a job in motion. Then a parent asks where her child is, and he stands again before Miss Price can answer. The roll pulls him back up. At 8:39, the shelter sends a note. Ava Calder asking for father. Can father send message? Mr. Calder takes the pencil from me with both hands. He writes slowly on the back of an old attendance sheet. Ava, and I am upstairs helping keep the door safe. Mrs. Webb is in charge. Listen to her. I love you. I will see you when it is safe. He stops, then adds, You did good on the stairs. We pass it down. 10 minutes later, a note comes back in crayon. Dad, I am sitting by Mia. I ate crackers. I am not crying now. Ava. He reads it twice, folds it once, and puts it in his shirt pocket. At 9:16, the infected at the front become more active. Night changes behavior around the building because human sound changes. Outside vehicles cool, wind drops, small noises carry farther. The infected near the lobby press against the fire doors more often. The barricade creaks. The vending machine shifts a fraction on the tile. Coach adds 2 more tables. Glenn Porter wedges mop buckets under the table legs. Mister. Boone tightens a rope around the handles. The men work together without discussing the fact that hours earlier each one had nearly broken something we needed. That is one of the few hopeful things I see. People can become worse under pressure, but people can also become more useful after seeing the cost of one bad move. Not everyone. Enough to matter. At 10:03, Mrs. Harlan finds the original shelter map. It is in the backup binder from the office, folded inside a yellowed envelope marked Building Addition 1962. The map shows the shelter chamber, the upper stair, the emergency hatch, and an old service passage labeled Maintenance Exit to North Field. Not the coal ramp, not the drainage culvert. A real passage. It should lead from the hatch alcove to a low concrete exit near the back field, probably covered by soil and shrubs after the playground renovation. I spread the map on a cafeteria table under a lantern. Mr. Yates, Coach, Miss Price, Mr. Boone, Mr. Calder, and Maribel gather around. The passage might be blocked. The hatch has been hit from outside. The exit may be buried. It may open near infected. It may be the only route that avoids the front. Mr. Yates says, "Can you check it tonight?" I say no. Everyone looks at me because I have been the person saying yes all day. No, I repeat. Not with children sleeping below. Not with the hatch taking impacts. Not in the dark without knowing what is outside. We check at first light. Until then, we keep it sealed. Mr. Yates wants to argue. He stops himself. First light, then. That is the right call. Still, wanting an escape route does not make a dark hatch safe. This is the kind of premise that kills people in stories and real life. The belief that movement is automatically better than waiting. Sometimes movement saves. Sometimes movement turns a contained problem into a spreading one. Tonight, we hold. The night is long because it has no schedule built for children. School days have bells. Emergencies have alarms. Night in a sealed building has neither. We make our own. Door checks every 15 minutes. Shelter signal every hour. Library quiet check every hour. Water issue at midnight. Bathroom rotation at 1 o'clock. Food held until morning, except for medical need. Adults rest in shifts, but most only sit with eyes open. At 12:27, one infected gets into the gym. We do not know how at first. The gym exterior door is still chained. The stage hallway is clear. Then I remember the roof access ladder outside and the old ventilation service panel above the equipment closet. A person could not use it easily. An infected might have fallen through damaged roof ducting after climbing or being pushed by others near the lower roof. The exact path does not matter once it is inside. A student in the library hears a crash from the gym and tells Mr. Avery. Mr. Avery sends a runner to the cafeteria. Coach and I go with flashlights covered by our hands to narrow the beams. The gym is huge and dark, with emergency exit signs over doors and rainwater dripping from the roof seam. Basketball hoops hang overhead. The crash came from the equipment closet. Balls have spilled onto the floor. The infected is tangled in a volleyball net near the storage racks. It was a maintenance worker from somewhere else, maybe from the district, wearing a utility belt and a torn rain jacket. It thrashes when our light hits it, pulling the net tighter around itself. Coach raises the table leg. I stop him. Door first. We do not need a fight if a door can do the work. We pull the storage room door open wider, use 2 long push brooms to drive the infected backward while it is still tangled, and force it into the closet. It hits the ball carts. Coach slams the door. I run a chain through the handle and around the wall anchor used for gym mats. Then I tape a sign to the door in thick marker. Do not open. Unsafe. YouTube safe words. School words. Words children may see. We search the gym for the entry point and find a ceiling panel above the equipment closet, broken inward. Cold air moves through it. I climb the bleachers, then the folded wall ladder, and look with my flashlight. The duct panel above is torn loose. Rain drips through. Not a wide opening, but enough for another problem. We move mats, climb higher, and block it from below with plywood from the stage set, screwed into wood framing with my cordless drill. The drill sounds too loud, but leaving a hole sounds worse. By 1:18, the gym is secured again. At 2:06, I sit for the first time since morning. I sit on the floor beside the lower corridor, back against the wall near the shelter door. The concrete is cold. My hands are dirty. My shirt smells of dust, kitchen smoke, and old crawl space. I can hear children below, softer now, a cough, a teacher murmuring, someone shifting on a bench. Behind the upper door, the shelter exists as sound and responsibility. Mr. Calder sits across from me. He does not ask if Ava is okay. He knows I do not have a new answer. Instead, he says, "Before this, I complained because the pickup line took too long." Everyone did. I yelled at Harlan last month because they would not release Ava to my brother. He was not on the form. She followed policy. I know that now. We sit without talking. That is enough. Not every apology needs a long scene. Some are just a man staying awake beside a door he tried to force earlier. At 3:30, the outside becomes quieter. That worries me more than the noise. Loud threats tell you where to look. Quiet makes every wall suspicious. I do another round. The front fire doors hold. The side cafeteria door holds. The delivery vestibule is quiet except for occasional scratching at the outer door. The gym closet holds. The library is still. The shelter answers 2 knocks after my 3, delayed but steady. Mrs. Webb sends no new note. At 4:58, the first pale light shows at the high cafeteria windows. No one celebrates. Morning is not rescue, morning is visibility. It lets us count problems. We gather the core adults at 5:21. Mr. Yates looks wrecked but functional. Miss Price has the lists. Coach has the barrier map. Mrs. Harlan has student names organized by location. Maribel has food count. I have the shelter map and a plan that is still more question than answer. The maintenance exit from the shelter may lead to the north field beyond the playground fence. From there, a drainage ditch runs toward Briar Creek and then behind the church property on Willow Road. The church is brick, elevated, and has a fenced preschool wing. It may be safer, it may be locked, it may be crowded, but it is away from the main school entrance and parking lot, where most infected gathered. We cannot move everyone at once. We cannot keep everyone here. We need to scout the exit first, then decide. Mr. Boone volunteers, Coach volunteers, Mr. Calder volunteers. I choose Coach and Mr. Boone. Mr. Calder needs to stay near the shelter entrance because Ava will listen if her father's note tells her to follow directions. Also, Mr. Boone's son is in the library, and Mr. Boone has shown he can follow a hard instruction without breaking line. We open the shelter after the knock signal and explain to Mrs. Webb. She does not love it. She also does not argue. The children are awake in fragments. Some slept, some did not. The room smells of old concrete, food, bodies, and stress held too long. The youngest children look dull with exhaustion. That is not dramatic. It is dangerous. Tired children make slow lines and poor choices. We need to move before the room degrades further. The emergency hatch barricade is still in place. No impacts now. We remove the drums and shelves quietly. I unlock the chain from the wheel, turn it half a rotation, then another. The hatch resists. Coach and Mr. Boone put shoulders to the edge while I work the wheel. Rust cracks, dirt falls from the frame. The hatch opens inward 6 inches. Cold morning air enters. No hands, no faces, no immediate movement outside. That is the first good sign. We open it wider and find not open field, but a narrow concrete passage sloping up. The map was right. The passage is low, 5 feet in most places, with old conduit along one wall and dirt washed in along the floor. It smells wet but breathable. At the far end, a rectangle of daylight shows through boards and roots. The exit is blocked by old landscaping timbers and soil, but not fully buried. Coach looks at me. We can clear that. Quietly. Mr. Boone gives a short laugh with no joy. Nothing is quiet with a shovel. He is right. We use hands, pry bars, and one small folding shovel wrapped in towels to dull the sound. It takes 30 minutes to clear enough space to see the north field. The exit emerges behind a line of overgrown shrubs near the back fence, hidden from the parking lot. Beyond it, the playground stands empty. The blacktop is wet. 2 infected move near the far basketball hoop. Another stands by the portable classroom, facing the wrong direction. The street beyond the fence looks empty, but empty at a distance means nothing. We do not exit fully yet. We watch. 5 minutes. 10. The infected drift toward the front of the building when something bangs there. The north field opens. We return to the shelter with the first real plan of the day. Children will move in groups of 15 through the maintenance passage to the north field, then along the fence to the drainage ditch. Older students from the library will go first to help receive younger children at the ditch, and because older students can move faster if the path fails. Then shelter children, youngest in the middle of each group, I staff front and back. Parents assigned by child location, not by loudness. No bags except medication, water, rosters, flashlights, and food that can be carried in pockets. Anyone who refuses the order stays in the school until the first movement is complete. That last part causes anger. It also prevents one person from turning the exit into a debate. Mr. Yates delivers the plan in the cafeteria. He does not overpromise. We are relocating from this building. We are not running. We are not opening the front. We are moving through a maintenance exit in groups. The first goal is the drainage ditch behind the north field. The second goal is the church property. Children move with assigned adults. If you break formation, you risk everyone behind you. A parent asks, "What if the church is not safe?" Mr. Yates answers, "Nice, then we keep moving." That is the most honest thing he has said all day. At 6:37, the first group enters the maintenance passage. The older students from the library go first. Tyler Boone is in the second line with Mr. Avery. Mr. Boone grips his shoulder once before letting him go ahead. "I'll be behind you," he says. Tyler says, "You better." It is the closest thing to a normal father-son exchange I have heard since morning. I go at the front of the first group with Coach at the exit. The passage forces everyone to duck. Shoes scrape concrete. A girl bumps her shoulder and mutters sorry, even though no one blames her. At the exit, we help each student through the opening, one at a time, into cold, wet grass. They crouch behind shrubs until the line is complete. Then Coach leads them along the fence toward the ditch. The infected near the basketball hoop do not notice the first group, or if they do not understand fast enough. The group reaches the ditch and drops below the field line. Good. Second group. Third. The system works until it does not. On the fourth group, a child slips at the exit and knocks a loose board down the outside slope. The board clatters against a metal fence post. The sound cuts across the field. The infected by the portable turns. The two near the basketball hoop turn. From somewhere behind the school, another answers with a broken vocal sound. The children freeze because adults freeze for half a second. I step out of the hatch and point hard toward the ditch. "Move!" The line moves. Not running, fast walking, staff on both sides. The infected begin crossing the blacktop. Their movement is uneven but direct now. Coach leaves the ditch and comes back halfway with two other adults carrying broom handles. Not to fight if we can avoid it. To redirect, block, and buy distance. The group reaches the ditch. The infected reach the grass. I stay by the hatch because the next group is already coming through, and if I abandon the exit, the passage jams. Mr. Calder appears in the opening with Ava's class. Ava sees the field and almost calls out. Her father puts one finger to his mouth. She nods and climbs out. He does not hug her. He guides her into line and keeps moving. That restraint saves seconds we need. The nearest infected closes to 20 yards. Coach steps toward it, bangs a broom handle against the fence to draw it away from the children, then backs toward the far side of the blacktop. It follows the sound. The others split, one toward Coach, one toward the moving line. Mr. Boone intercepts with a rolling trash bin from the playground fence, shoving it across the wet pavement into the infected's path. It trips against the bin and goes down. He does not stay to finish anything. He runs back to the ditch line because the goal is not winning a fight. The goal is moving children. By 7:12, half the school is out. The school behind us is louder now. The movement, the hatch, the field noise, the infected shifting from the front to the side. The fire door barricade inside may not hold much longer without people reinforcing it. That means the exit window is shrinking. We speed up groups to 20. Risky. Necessary. The shelter empties row by row. Mrs. Webb is the last teacher out of the lower room, carrying the roster folder and the stuffed dinosaur from the first boy because he dropped it near the stairs and she noticed. That detail nearly breaks my focus. She still noticed. I do one final look inside the shelter before leaving. The room is trashed but intact. Paper cups, blankets, empty water bottles, old supply tins, dusty footprints, names taped to columns. A place built for a war that never came has just carried a school through the first day of another kind of collapse. It did not save everyone by being strong. It saved people because enough adults chose order at the right moments, and because some people who almost made it worse decided to help. We closed the shelter door behind us, not for secrecy now, for delay. The last group includes Mr. Yates, Mrs. Harlan, Maribel, Glenn Porter, and Maya, Liam's mother, Mr. Calder, Ava, Coach, Mr. Boone, Tyler, Ms. Price, and me. We move through the passage while impacts echo somewhere above. The school is giving way at the front. No one says it. We hear it. At the hatch, I count the last people out. Mrs. Harlan, Maribel, Glenn, Maya, Mr. Calder, Ava, Mr. Boone, Tyler, Ms. Price, Mr. Yates. Coach waits outside with the final line. I am last in the passage. That is not heroism. I have the key ring and the tool bag, and I know how to close the hatch behind us. A sound comes from the shelter stairwell behind me. The upper door has opened or broken. Voices and impacts move through the chamber we just emptied. I pull the maintenance hatch inward and start turning the wheel from inside the passage. The wheel sticks again. Of course it does. Everything old demands payment at the worst moment. Coach reaches through from outside and grabs the edge. Daniel, leave it! If it stays open, they follow the passage. He knows I am right. He also sees the time. I put both hands on the wheel and force it through the rust. One turn, half. Another. The hatch seals enough for the latch to catch. I loop the chain through the wheel and bracket, snap the padlock, and crawl toward daylight while the first impact hits the other side. Coach pulls me out by the back of my jacket. We shove the boards back over the opening and move. The full group is in the drainage ditch now, stretched too long. Children in front with teachers, parents mixed by assignment, stronger adults at the back. We move crouched along muddy water that barely covers the bottom. The ditch smells of wet leaves and runoff. It cuts behind the school property, under a small footbridge, then toward Briar Creek. The school building remains visible through trees for the first 100 yards. Broken front glass catches morning light. Cars sit abandoned in the lot. Infected cluster where noise still comes from the entrance. Then the school drops behind the slope, and we are no longer inside it. That should feel better. It does not. Outside has no doors we control. The route to the church takes 25 minutes with adults. It takes nearly an hour with children, exhaustion, mud, and stops for quiet. Twice we freeze while infected cross ahead near backyards. Once we hide under the footbridge while a pickup truck races along Willow Road with 3 people in the bed shouting for someone named Carla. The shouting draws infected from side streets. The truck does not stop. The infected follow it away, and their bad decision clears our path. At 8:09, we reach the church preschool fence. The church is not empty. That is good and bad. A man with a hunting vest stands behind the fellowship hall door holding a flashlight and a long tool. 2 women are moving chairs inside. A hand-lettered sign on the door says "No entry without check." We stop at the fence line with school rosters held up before anyone can mistake us for a crowd with no order. Mr. Yates steps forward, hands visible. Briar Glen Elementary. We have children. The man behind the door looks at the line. Whatever rule he planned to enforce changes when he sees the number of small faces in the ditch. He does not open the main door. He points to the side gate. 1 group at a time. Check for injuries. No pushing. I almost laugh because those are our words now, passed to the next locked door. We enter the church in groups. Each person is checked for visible injury. Names are recorded. Children are seated in the preschool rooms, then the fellowship hall. Water is distributed in small cups. A nurse from the neighborhood checks Marcus Hill and 2 other children with medical needs. Liam's mother is reunited with Liam under the supervision of Mrs. Dorsey, and she does not run across the room. She walks fast, then kneels, and he goes into her arms with his paper cup still in one hand. Mr. Calder finds Ava. This time he does hug her, briefly, carefully. Then he helps move chairs. Mr. Boone and Tyler sit against the wall together. Glenn Porter apologizes to Maribel for the side door, and she tells him to carry boxes from the pantry if he wants to be useful. He does. Mr. Yates stands near the church office with the emergency binder and the school lists. Parents gather around him again, but the shouting is gone. Not because everyone trusts him, because everyone has seen what happens when shouting becomes movement. I step outside the side door after the last group is counted. The church property sits on a slight rise. From there, I can see the top of Briar Glen's roof over trees. Smoke does not rise from it. No fire. The building still stands. Somewhere under it is the old shelter, sealed again behind steel and concrete no longer forgotten. Ms. Price comes out beside me. She has a new clipboard from the church office. Of course she does. She looks toward the school and says, "We lost anyone?" I know what she means. From our groups, from inside, from the children assigned to us. Not from the school roster after lockdown, I say. Not that we know. She nods, but she does not let herself smile. There were people outside we did not save. Late parents, neighbors, the woman with the next sign at the delivery door, the visitor named Nora, maybe staff from the hospital. A count can be true and still incomplete. Inside the church, children begin eating crackers. Adults whisper into phones that still have no service. Someone finds a battery radio and turns it low. The county broadcast repeats the same instructions, now older and less useful. Remain secured. Avoid public buildings. Await daylight guidance. Daylight guidance came too late for us, but daylight itself gave us the passage out. I sit on the church step with my key ring still clipped to my belt. The keys are dirty. Parker carried them down the shelter stairs yesterday, and that small task helped move a line. I turn the ring in my hand and think about how many locked doors decided the shape of the day. Doors we opened, doors we refused, doors we held, doors we sealed with people begging outside. I do not know how to make peace with all of it. I do not think peace is available this soon. What I know is this: a shelter under a school is not salvation. It is a room with limits. A locked door is not cruelty by itself, and an open door is not kindness by itself. Every choice has a cost, and sometimes the right choice still leaves someone on the wrong side of it. Yesterday morning, Briar Glen was a school. By noon, it was a panic site. By night, it was a divided shelter. By morning, it was a building we had to abandon to keep the children alive. None of that happened because one person was brave or one room was hidden under concrete. It happened because people failed, corrected, argued, helped, and kept moving when stopping would have made the next decision worse. I am recording this now from the church office while the children sleep in shifts on preschool mats and folded coats. Mr. Yates is planning the next move with the church volunteers. Mrs. Webb is asleep sitting upright in a chair, still holding her roster. Maribel is in the kitchen again. Coach is at the side door. Mr. Calder is sorting water cups. Mr. Boone is helping board windows. Glenn Porter has not gone near an exit since sunrise. No one here is safe in the permanent sense. The roads are still blocked. The phones still fail. The broadcast still repeats more than it explains. The infected are still out there, drawn to every bad sound people make while trying to survive. But the children from Briar Glen Elementary are inside a locked building with water, food for now, adults watching the doors, and a plan that does not depend on pretending help is already on the way. That is what we have. For today, that has to be enough.